Hello and very warm welcome to Dr. Ahmed YouTube channel. Once again, two chapters of the novel Twilight in Delhi will be recorded here, the discussion on them, and some type of context will also be developed. These two chapters are chapter number 6 and 7, and these are the very chapter where decline of everything would like to take place. That is Twilight in Delhi, and the real Twilight is going to descend, not only for the characters, their lives, their families, but also for the ruling British elite. The Twilight is going to come. So this novel is not only the Twilight of for the Muslims of the Muslim Delhi and the rulers of Delhi, but also it's going to be the twilight for the colonialism, because after that definitely certain developments will take place, because of which colonialism will also begin to die its own death. Possibly these chapters are going to refer to that collectively towards the twilight of characters, twilight of the culture, twilight of the governments, twilight of everything they are going to offer. And here is the beginning of that. Let me show you chapter number 6 here. It begins like this. And if you look at this chapter, it goes to show in the very beginning the first passages about the terrorism, and that reads something like that. The months passed by, and 1912 gave a place to 1913. During the December of the previous year, a bomb had been thrown at Lord Hardinge when he had held the imitation Darbar, as the Delhi people call it. But the Viceroy had escaped death. The Iqbal of the British government had started asserting itself. Only the people had become disillusioned and had started complaining about the hard days which were coming, and the terrorist movement was gaining ground all over the country. Already, dissatisfaction with the foreign yoke had spread, and Bengal seemed to be taking the lead in this direction. So, this is the introduction of the chapter 6, and that goes to clearly highlight that something bad for the British people is going to happen. One of these bad things is the terroristic attack on the Viceroy. Many of the people were injured, and the Viceroy was also seriously injured, but he survived. But that survival means actually that the things have started and they are going to assert themselves with the passage of time. But however, some of the power is there, and that power would continue to assert itself. The writer refers to the political situation, like we can see in this paragraph, that Bengal was the place where the dissatisfaction had started to come against the British government, and the people were disillusioned also, because they thought, as the chapter would later on mention, that lots of problems of the people of India would be solved because of the arrival of these British people there. None of these problems were solved, but new were also created. So that is why the chapter begins with destruction, and that destruction now would be visible everywhere. Let me show you the next passage about this. For example, we have a line here that says disfiguring of Chandni Chowk. Now, Chandni Chowk is a place which is the representative of the Muslim culture, of the prosperity, of the marketing, of the cultural associations. That was the main place where the people used to come, and that has become, with the passage of time, a famous romantic place. But that's destruction was also started. Trees were dismantled, the places were dismantled. As a result, that place was also giving ground to the British kind of decisions, or the thing which they want to do. And therefore, let us read this passage in that context. Outside the city, far beyond the Delhi and Turkoman gates, and opposite the Kotla of Firoz Shah, the old fort, a new Delhi was going to be built. The seventh Delhi and fallen along with its builder, Shah Jahan. Now the eighth was under construction, and the people predicted that the fall of its builders would also follow soon. Its foundations had at least been laid from the eventful year 1911, which marked in a way the height of the British splendor in India. Its downfall began. So the paragraph goes to suggest that the downfall is there, and that has actually started. But on the one hand, the construction of the new Delhi is being done alongside the ruins of the old Delhi, I should say. But the writer is pointing out that as the eighth time Delhi is going to be populated, seventh time it has been destroyed. So eighth time is time of destruction is not far away. According to him, as the builders of Delhi have been dying, same would be the case with these British people as well. And the end of the paragraph, as I would show you, that the end of the paragraph goes to suggest that downfall had already begun, as the paragraph says that 9/11 was the eventful year, and because of that, the downfall had already begun. So, for the city of Delhi, the Chandni Chowk and the builders of that Delhi, that everything is going to point out to some destruction. So, let's go forward. and carry on more passages. For example, these three, four lines are really very important. Let's have a reading of that. Besides, the New Delhi meant new people, new ways, and a new world together. That may be of all right, but the newcomers, for the old residents, it was a little too much. So that is the kind of absorption kind of thing, as the people say, the way the foreigners come and absorb into the local culture. Because of the arrival of the British, many foreigners have come into Delhi, and they are trying to become part of that. Newcomers had come, and this thing had been going on inside Delhi for a long time, because first the Muslims and then the British people have come, and that with the kind of mixture is being created inside Delhi. Nothing will be pure with the passage of time. That will show itself. So this is the backdrop with which we are continuing with this chapter. Let's go and see more in the third page of the chapter. And here are two very good paragraphs where it is being mentioned about the people. That is about the children, for example, the kind of thing after describing outside of the home, and now we are going to inside the home of Mir Nihal, where we read the description of the two children. That is, these children are the grandchildren of Mir Nihal. The Nasim, he was very fond and he liked Khairuddin's two young sons, Hamid and Shahid. So these are two young people, Hamid and Shahid. They are the next generation of the people, and both of them have opposite nature. But as far as childhood is concerned, learning is concerned, they are of the same thing. For example, they would sometimes play with the things, and sometimes with the have the dreams of fairies, princesses, birds, and bees. These things they would do, and they would learn the Holy Quran as well as the Muslims do most of the time. So these people were happy. Mir Nihal wouldn't mostly ask them anything, but he would ask about the lessons which they have been taking at the school, and they would listen them, and sometimes would rebuke them also if they were not ready to listen that. And he would offer them some kind of sweets also, as the grandfather is most of the time supposed to do so. So Hamid and Shahid both were doing good with the studies, but sometimes not. They were very mischievous type of people, and he would give them some, saltish kind of powder as well, which they were very fond of that, and they would get everything like that. We are also told with the passage of time that Ghafoor had married the very girl, which was in certain last chapter mentioned that that girl was referred to him, but unfortunately that girl died very soon, and therefore he was still a man without a woman. Now, Mir Nihal sometimes got very angry. So when he was angry with the children when they didn't do something good, for example, when they stole the money of one of the residents of Mir Nihal's house, that is Begum Kabiruddin, if she had given the children some money. So in that way, the money was found out, money of the woman was found out there, and that money was stolen by the children. So Binhal got very, very angry, and he asked to bring the sword in order to terrify the boys that they should not do such a thing once again. So in this way, the things were going on at the home of Mir Nihal, and he was not feeling that good as he should feel. Oh no, he was a very tired, very old type of person. So same idea takes us to chapter 7, where another kind of destruction is going to take place, and that destruction is on the relationship between Asghar and his wife Bilqis, though they are they are the parents of one child whose name is Jahan Ara, as we find here in the start of 7th chapter. She is 1.5 years old, and the relationship between these two have become very cold. They are not so happy with each other. Asghar is bored, and because of being shy, this girl Bilqis is not able to attract him towards her and to have some love bond between them. So the things are going to be mentioned by the other characters. For example, here in this passage, we find all this made Bilqis more sad. She was herself conscious of Asghar's coldness towards her. She had noticed that he was more interested in the maidservant than herself. And when her mother talked to her in this fashion, her doubts were confirmed. She had really done something to annoy him. She thought, how could she make amends for what she had unwittingly done? So that goes to show, the passage goes to show the kind of worry, the kind of upsetness, the kind of boredom in the life of Bilqis that has crept into her life, and she's unable to stop that. And she feels that Asghar is not very much warm towards her, and that is why she's so much upset. So that is the kind of indication that the relationship they were having, that has started to become cold. Bilqis was feeling broken-hearted, and as the beggar's voice came, she put a hand on Jahan Ara, who lay asleep by her on the bed. She felt sorry for the child and herself. So even the child is suffering from the indifference of Asghar. which should not have been, but somehow he was like that. So that goes to show the twilight of the relationship of these two people as well. So neither Bilqis nor Jahan, the daughter, was able to receive any kind of attention from Asghar. He sometimes, though, he reverted towards Bilqis, and sometimes he also showed his love, but then it disappeared very soon. For example, the writer comments here, love is something spontaneous. It is that fire which once alight cannot be put out. But when it begins to smolder and die, nothing on earth can revive it again. The heart becomes hardened to its storms. It fails to respond to its once swaying melody. So that writer also comments that if love has begun to deteriorate, if it has taken the place of coldness is gaining there, though there may not be hate, but this is something which is coldness, and that coldness is taking the place of love. That would definitely not be the good and warm situation between the people, and that is the kind of solution, that's the kind of indication has been given by the writer for the dying love, for the twilight of love between Bilqis and her daughter and her husband, that is going to take her life with the passage of time, this indifference she cannot bear. So in this way, these are the two chapters which reflect the twilight into the lives of character, also into the life of Delhi, also into the life of British people as well. So everything is going to come towards decline. That is what the title is going to refer to. So seen in political context, romantic context, and in social and cultural context, everywhere we can see that decline is going to take place. That is why the title of the book is Twilight and Delhi. So that's all from me for this day. Hope to see you in some next video. Till that time, keep happy, keep loving, keep peaceful. So bye bye from me.